The Planet Man. The Planet Man. This is the fascinating story of Dantro, the Planet Man, troubleshooter for the League of Planets organization, the law enforcement body for peace and justice in the celestial world, whose headquarters and center of operations are situated on the capital of all the planets, Planaria Rex. From Mercury to Pluto, wherever danger threatens the universe, you will find Dantro, the Planet Man, fighting for fair play. In a moment, The Planet Man. You will remember that Billy, Jane, and Pat Darrow were about to take off from Planaria Rex with Dantro, the Planet Man, for Venus. They are starting on a goodwill tour of the members in the League of Planets. Judge Augustus warned Dantro that although Marston's power was destroyed, his collaborators on the planets were still a threat to the Earth people, that they might even resort to violence in their determination to keep Earth from becoming a member of the League. We find our party preparing for their blast-off from the spaceport on Planaria Rex.
In 5 minutes or so, we'll blast off of Venus. Are you excited, Billy?
A little. Listen to him. A little, he says. Well, he's been practically jumping up and down for the last 4 hours.
You've been excited yourself, so don't talk about me. I'm afraid we don't know an awful lot about Venus, Dantro.
Well, it isn't exactly Earth, you know. The clouds that shroud the planet are dust.
I thought they were like the ones back home. You know, water vapor.
No, they're dust. As a matter of fact, the surface of the planet is almost covered with dust. The Venusians have evolved a culture that's quite different from any other planet in the League. They even look different, as you know. Their noses, for instance. You've noticed how big they are. That's because of the dust. They have a kind of filter that's part of their bodies that enables them to breathe.
Oh, I wondered about that. And about the extra eyelid they seem to have. It's transparent. I guess that's to protect their eyes from the dust.
Yes, exactly, Pat.
But do they live out in the middle of the dust all the time? Doesn't it get into their food and everything?
Well, one time they did. But for centuries, they've lived under tremendous transparent domes. Their cities are covered by them. We'll be quite comfortable inside them.
Won't we ever go outside?
Oh, yes, but when we do, we'll have to wear respirators to filter out the dust.
I couldn't help laughing when I first saw the Venusian ambassador's big nose. I guess nature knows what she's doing.
They'll have the laugh on us with our respirators.
Well, they're much too polite to laugh. But you're right about nature. You'll find as we travel around that some of the races in the League of Planets will look pretty funny to you. But there's always a good reason for it. They've each adapted to the environment of the place they live. That's why even the people back on your Earth are different.
Isn't it getting close to blast-off time?
Oh, just about, Billy. I want to give the ship a quick check, though, before we go up. That's funny.
What's funny?
I may be just imagining things, but the controls don't feel right to me. Particularly the counter-gravity stabilizer.
Gee, you don't think it's busted, do you? Will it delay our trip?
Not busted, Billy. Broken.
Hey, Wiz, what's the difference? You know what I mean. Will it, Dantro? Will it delay us?
Don't distract him, Billy.
Oh, that's all right. After all, Billy wants to learn. The pilot needs to know his ship.
Sure, you women don't understand these mechanical things. Now, what seems to be the trouble?
I'm afraid it's a little too technical even for you, Billy. I better call the flight engineer. I checked the entire ship with him myself before, but I'll ask him to go over this counter-gravity stabilizer again. Flight engineer, report to control deck at once.
Flight engineer Mako, sir. What's up?
Well, it's probably nothing, but the controls don't seem to respond quite right.
Well, we checked them together.
Will you give them a quick once-over just for luck?
Well, of course, sir.
Can I help? I'm almost a pilot, you know.
I know. I've been hearing about you. Sure, you can hold these tools and hand them to me as I need them.
How many people are there on Venus, Dantro?
About 1 billion people, Jane.
Any animals?
Oh, of course. And like the Venusians, they've all adapted themselves to the dust. There's another inhabitant of Venus that's almost a legend. Very few of them have ever been seen. There isn't even a picture of one, and most Venusians doubt that they exist.
He sounds mysterious. What are they?
Well, the Venusians call them dusties. They're almost humanoid in appearance from the stories I've heard. No one really knows much about them, but they've been credited with almost magical powers.
Do you believe that?
I'm afraid I don't know what to believe, Jane. I've traveled around the solar system and seen too many unbelievable things to be sure of anything. There's certainly no evidence to support that belief, though. Probably just a sort of legend more than anything else. Oh, any luck, Mako?
Well, nothing wrong so far, son.
Have you checked the stabilizer?
I'm just going over it now. Seems okay. Wait a minute. Billy, hand me that round tube. It can't be.
Trouble?
I'm afraid so. I'm not sure yet, but something isn't the way it should be here.
You better go over it carefully.
Don't worry, sir, I will. Hand me that scanner, Billy.
Can it be serious? I mean, if it didn't work right?
Serious enough to end our trip before we had hardly gotten started. Without the stabilizer, we'd never clear the gravity field of Planaria Rex. It could make us crash if it were badly enough warped.
Jumping sun toads, this is awful.
Did I give you the wrong tool?
No, the tool's all right, but something else is awfully wrong. Will you come over to the engineering maintenance for a moment, sir? I'd like to talk to you.
Can I come?
Now, you better stay here with the tools, Billy. It's pretty technical anyhow. And I've got to look at some relay charts. I'll explain it to you when I get back. What's the trouble?
Well, I didn't want to tell you in front of the kids and Miss Darrow, so there's no sense worrying them. But that gravity stabilizer is absolutely useless. You wouldn't get 2 miles off Planaria Rex. You'd come down like a meteor.
Well, you could have told me in front of them they're not the kind that get frightened easily.
That's not why I asked you to step out. That equipment is useless. And it's no accident.
Hmm? What do you mean?
It's been tampered with.
Tampered with? Are you sure?
You went over it with me, sir. It was in perfect shape then.
But are you sure it's been deliberately damaged?
The way it is, it couldn't have been an accident. The connections have been switched and the tube shorted. Whoever did it knew exactly what he was doing. You wouldn't have had a chance of landing without a crash.
You'd better check the rest of the controls. I'll make some excuse to Miss Darrow and the kids. And check it thoroughly.
Don't worry, I'll go over everything with a micro scanner.
There's trouble ahead for the League of Planets group before they even take off on their goodwill trip. Who is behind this sabotage? We'll be back in a moment. So level up. When we left Danville, he was informed by the flight engineer that the proposed interplanetary goodwill spaceship, the Planeteer, had been sabotaged. Now we find Danville talking with Billy, Jane, and Pat in the control cabin, but not letting on to what is really wrong.
Do you think we'll make it this time, Danto?
Well, I think so, Billy. What happened before was just one of those accidents. It should teach you a good lesson, though. Always check your ship before you take it up. Even the best technicians slip sometimes, and it's your life that's at stake, and sometimes others.
You bet I will. Can I stand here a while you blast off?
Oh, me too. You may be in the way.
Oh, it's all right, Pat. They're no trouble at all, and not very complicated.
Oh, I keep forgetting how different from the old Constitution these ships are. No dangerous acceleration, no recoil couches. It's almost like going up in an elevator.
There goes the signal to blast off.
Right, Billy. Here we go.
Boy, this ship really travels. Can I take over the controls soon?
Maybe not this trip, Billy. Don't worry, you'll have a lot of chance to be traveling a lot for a while now. We'll be out of these dust clouds in a minute, and then you'll be able to take your first look at Venus.
I've always thought that the clouds were water vapor, like the clouds on Earth.
Well, if they were, Venus would be a lot better off. As it is, they have ways that will seem quite strange to you. Oh, but you'll see it yourself in a little while now. There, now you can see the planet.
Why, it looks like a big desert. Hey, what's that thing down there? It looks like a big bubble.
That's Venusport. I told you their cities were covered with tremendous domes to keep out the dust storms.
But how do we get in?
Well, they have locks like the airlocks on a spaceship. You go through one door, which seals, and then we can go through the second, through to the city itself.
Do they know we're coming?
Oh, I've already signaled ahead. You see that directional arrow? If we keep it lined up with the beam, we will come right onto the port.
I see it. It's that round opening.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have to slow down.
There, I second door ahead of us now.
What's opening?
The outer door must be closed then. Here we go.
See, the landing field is below us.
Yes, and there's a delegation waiting for us to land. They'll probably make a speech. Yes, this is quite an event for Venus. Not often they have visitors from the other planets.
On behalf of the people of Venus, I welcome you to Venusport. Our planet is yours.
Do you think he means it? Be quiet, Billy. This is a very serious occasion.
As I grasp the hands of each of you from Earth, may it be a symbol of the future unity for the people of Venus and the people of your home planet.
The first leg on the interplanetary goodwill tour has been made without incident, except for the attempted sabotage of the Planeteer at takeoff. Now on the planet Venus, the planet of dust, the Earth people and Danto are to be the most honored guests in many a century. We'll be back in a moment, but first, here is a message the Planet Man wants you to hear. Tune in again for more transcribed thrills and adventures. Rocket millions of light years into space with Dantro, the Planet Man. The Planet Man. The Planet Man. Planet Man. This is the fascinating story of Dantro, the Planet Man, troubleshooter for the League of Planets organization, the law enforcement body for peace and justice in the celestial world, whose headquarters and center of operations are situated on the capital of all the planets, Planaria Rex. From Mercury to Pluto, wherever danger threatens the universe, you will find Dantro, the Planet Man, fighting for fair play. In a moment, the Planet Man. When we left our friends Pat, Billy, and Jane Darrow, they and Danto the Planet Man had landed at Venusport. As the first people from Earth to visit that planet, they were welcomed most cordially. We find Billy, Pat, and Jane discussing the wonderful reception that was given in their honor.
Brother, that was some banquet.
You said it. What was it we ate?
Gosh, I don't know. Do you know, Pat?
I'm a little bit afraid to ask. Didn't you like the taste?
Oh, sure, it was swell.
Oh, come in. Dantro, when are we leaving? Where are we going?
I'll tell you all about it in a minute. You packed, Pat?
Oh, just about. A few little odds and ends, but it'll only take a minute.
Oh, fine. I just came from the office of the League of Planets here on Venus. They wanted me to be sure and commend all of you on the way you've been conducting yourselves. Particularly you two, Billy and Jane. The ambassador thought you got along wonderfully at the party the Vice Regent of Venus gave for you.
Gosh, we didn't do anything special.
They were such nice people. It was almost like our friends on Earth.
Well, just the same, you were both swell.
You know, Dantro, sometimes I think you do it deliberately.
Hmm?
You know, we're all standing here wondering when we're leaving and where we go next. Is it a secret?
Yeah, what's the mystery?
No mystery at all. I didn't mean to keep you guessing. Well, it's just that I've got a lot on my mind. I was going over the route with the convoy commander.
Convoy commander? Are we going by boat?
Silly, how could we go by boat? There's no water.
No boat, Billy.
Oh, Dantro, what is this all about?
I'm sorry, Pat. Well, here's the story. We leave here in about half an hour and travel in convoy by dust buggy to Galanta.
What's a dust buggy?
Where's Galanta?
A dust buggy is like, well, I guess back on Earth you'd call it a sled. It has an enclosed cabin to keep out the dust. It's driven by jets along the tops of the dust the way a sled goes over the snow. Atlanta's the biggest city here on Venus. It's about 600 miles from Venusport.
Couldn't we go by air?
Well, we could, but I thought you might like to see something of Venus. It'll take a little longer this way, but you could get a good look at the countryside. The buggy's built to take all kinds of conditions. It will be part of a convoy.
It sounds exciting.
Yes, it will be. I'll never forget the first time I traveled across Venus. An experience you'll never forget. Pat, can I talk to you a minute?
Oh, certainly. Come into my room.
You get your things together, kids. We'll be right back. I wanted to talk to you about something serious, and I just assumed Billy and Jane didn't hear. Nothing may happen, but I think you ought to be aware that everyone on Venus isn't friendly.
Well, I thought the Venusians were on our side.
Well, they are, don't misunderstand me. 99% of them are anxious for Earth to join the League, but Marston had allies here on Venus. As a matter of fact, just before we left Planaria Rex, Judge Augustus warned me to be careful.
Then there was something really wrong with the ship after all, wasn't there?
Yeah, I'm afraid there was. I didn't want to frighten you, so I pretended it was an accident. But it was sabotage. There's no question about it, and I'm afraid it's only the beginning.
Do you think they'll really try to hurt us?
Well, I'm afraid they may, Pat. After all, if we had taken off with the ship the way it was, we'd have all been killed. If they're willing to go that far, they'll stop at nothing. Oh, that's why I felt I'd better tell you the truth so that you'd be on your toes.
Well, it's not myself I'm worried about, but the kids are my responsibility. I certainly wouldn't want anything to happen to them.
Believe me, Pat, nothing's going to happen if I can help it. But there's no harm in being prepared. Well, we better get moving. Convoy will be waiting for us. Come on, kids. Let's go.
A trip through the Venus dust land. That in itself is exciting. But what possible danger may face Dantle, Pat, Billy, and Jane as they embark on this Venusian convoy trip? We'll be back in a moment. So, level up. When we left Dantle, Pat, and the two kids, Billy and Jane, they were about to leave Venusport for an overland trip to Galanta, which would take them over the treacherous Venus dust. As we find them now, they are speeding along in a Venusian dust buggy, and the ride is apparently full of thrills.
Boy, Billy, isn't this wonderful? It's like a roller coaster back on Earth. Oh, here comes another hill. Hang on. Oh, boy, what a ride!
I told you you'd enjoy this. If we'd gone by air, you'd have missed all the fun.
Oh, it is exciting, but I can't help but wonder what would happen if our dust buggy conked out.
Don't worry, that's why we travel in convoys. We just transfer to one of the other buggies. If we lost the convoy, we could use our communicator, and they'd send out a rescue party from Venusport.
Well, I'm not really worried, but that landscape out there is a little frightening. I never realized there could be so much dust anywhere.
Well, it's hundreds of feet deep, Pat. And these hills are moving all the time, like sand in your deserts back on Earth.
Gosh, you know almost as much about Earth as we do.
Well, you know, we've been watching Earth for years with the cosmic communicator. I learned a lot about your planet and its people.
That's right, I'd forgotten. I wish we had the communicator here now. I'd like to see what's going on in the sports world.
You and your old sport.
Look out there. We'll never see anything like that on Earth.
Maybe when we get back to Planaria Rex, you can teach us some games.
Boy, that's an idea. We could have games and maybe even have a League of Planets Olympics like the ones on Earth.
And Judge Augustus could be an official.
Ah, I bet he'd love that, wouldn't he, Dan?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. They have a game here on Venus I think you'd like. Maybe when we get to Galanta, you can watch a game. It's called Jetto.
How do they play it?
With one-man jets and a ball that's anti-gravitated so it floats in the air.
Gosh, it sounds exciting.
You think we'll run into a dust storm?
Oh, let's hope not. Once you've been in one, you never want to see another. Now, we're safe enough in the buggy. It's built to travel right through storms. But with the wind blowing at 100 miles an hour, this dust is like a million sharp needles. If you were outside without protection, it would strip your clothes off in a second, and the rest of you, too, for that matter.
Let's not even talk about it. It gives me the shivers.
Ah, you always get scared.
Maybe I do, but that doesn't stop me.
That's right, Jane. Sometimes I think you pretend to be scared to make Billy feel brave.
That's a secret between us women.
Ah, you women are all alike, always making fun of a guy.
Yes, Billy, but they are nice to have around.
Oh, I guess so. Only sometimes Sometimes Jane talks too much.
What's that?
Where?
Over there on the left, way out there. See? It looks like a cloud or something.
I see it all right. Jane, it looks like you're going to find out what a dust storm is like.
Oh, is that what it is? Seems so far away.
At the speed it's traveling, it'll be here within a few minutes. We're in for a little rough weather. Better buckle those safety belts.
Gosh, this is really something.
Hadn't we better pull a little closer to the convoy?
That's a good idea. We'll switch on our lights, too, the way they have, so we can see each other through the storm.
Keep out the wind and the dust, but it doesn't keep out the noise.
I'm afraid they're built for safety and speed, not for comfort. But don't be afraid. At the rate we're traveling, we should be out of the storm quickly enough.
It's a good thing the rest of the convoy put on their lights. Pitch black outside. I can just barely make them out.
We'll stick close to them. They know the way. Y'all okay?
Sure, we're fine.
What's happened?
I'm not sure. I'll try and start the jets again.
Boy, that had me worried for a minute.
That must have been the dust. Some of it must have gotten through the filters into the engine.
Look, there's one of the convoy. They dropped back to see if we were okay.
They're pulling up right alongside of us.
I'll signal them ahead. Everything's fine now.
There they go. Can you see them?
Don't worry, I'll follow right behind until we catch up with the rest of the convoy.
Pulling away from us.
Our jets still aren't working right. I can't understand it. These buggies are built for this kind of weather. Oh, there it goes again.
Can't you get it started?
I'm afraid we're stuck.
Will they come back for us again?
They'll try, but in this storm, they'll never find us.
What'll happen?
Well, we'll just use our communicator and call for help. They'll be able to get direction from our radar beam and find us even if the dust storm is still on. Hello, Planet Man calling Venusport. Planet Man calling Venusport. Hello, Venusport. Venusport, do you hear me? This is Planet Man calling Venusport. Come in, Venusport.
No answer.
Hello, Venusport. Come in, Venusport. This is Planet Man calling Venusport.
Maybe something's happened to our communicator. Gosh, can't you think of something pleasant?
Pleasant or not, I'm afraid Jane's right. The communicator isn't working.
What do we do now?
Well, we're safe enough here in the buggy. We'll just sit out the storm, and then I'll send up a few flares. They'll be looking for us, and somebody is sure to notice. We'll just sit tight until they do.
Well, our friends seem to have become the victims of a Venusian dust storm. Or has the work of some saboteurs hit its mark? Will the rest of the convoy discover the missing dust buggy soon? What manner of danger lies ahead for Dancer and his friends? We'll be back in a moment. But first, here is a message the Planet Man wants you to hear. Tune in again for more transcribed thrills and adventures. Rocket millions of light years into space with Dan Troll, the Planet Man. The Planet Man. The Planet Man. Planet Man. This is the fascinating story of Dan Troll, the Planet Man, troubleshooter for the League of Planets organization, the law enforcement body for peace and justice in the celestial world, whose headquarters and center of operations are situated on the capital of all the planets, Planaria Rex. From Mercury to Pluto, wherever danger threatens the universe, you will find Dan Troll, the Planet Man, fighting for fair play. In a moment, the Planet Man. remember, Billy, Jane, and Pat Darrow and Dantrell the Planet Man were marooned on Venus amidst a sea of dust when their dust buggy broke down during a terrible storm. With their communicator not working, they have been unable to do more than sit and wait for the storm to blow itself out.
Have you figured out what's wrong with the communicator yet, Dantrell?
Not yet, Billy. I can't understand how it could have gone out. This type of equipment is built to take a pounding for years without trouble.
Maybe it needs a tube or something.
Not this set. They're tubeless. That's what makes them so sturdy.
Listen to that wind.
Gonna have to listen to it. I can almost feel it through the buggy. That plastic shield around us must really be strong.
How fast do you think it's blowing out there?
Well, at least 200 miles an hour, maybe more.
Gosh,
Have you found the trouble yet?
Yes, I found it.
can't you fix it?
Not without new parts, and there aren't any extras aboard.
New parts. Is it that bad?
Pat, you remember what I told you just before we left Venusport?
You mean about the ship?
That's right. Well, it looks like this is more of the same.
More of the same? Same what?
I'm going to tell them, Pat.
I guess you better.
What's going on?
Remember the trouble we had with the ship before we left Planaria Rex?
I remember. It was something with the counter-gravity thing.
Yes, the counter-gravity stabilizer. It was deliberately sabotaged. And the same thing has happened to this communicator. And the dust buggy, too, I think. It's as I told Pat at Venusport. Marston is gone, but his collaborators are still at work trying to achieve what he failed to do.
But what good does it do them to strand us out here? Sooner or later, a search party will find us and take us back to Venusport.
You're absolutely right, Jane, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to tell you and Billy the whole story. I'm afraid that the dirty work isn't over.
Do you think someone in the convoy was in on it?
Well, we'll probably never find out for sure who sabotaged our buggy and communicator. Say, we've been so busy talking, I didn't even notice that the storm's letting up. I hope what I've told you doesn't frighten you.
You should know us better than that by now. Besides, we're all stuck together. We can take care of anything.
Atta boy, Billy. That's the way to talk.
Hello, Venusport. Secret Channel 7 Zeptar. This is Noki reporting from Goodwill Tour Convoy. Mission complete. Dantrell's dust buggy stopped as planned. Convoy did not stop to find them in dust storm. We'll proceed with Operation Pickup. Should have the Earth people and Dantrell as prisoners shortly. Keep you advised. Signing off.
Dantrell, how about going outside? The storm's over. Maybe we can fix the jets on the buggy.
That's one thing we mustn't even try, Billy. That dust is like powder, and in this part of the desert, it's hundreds of feet thick. Without special shoes, you'd sink out of sight in a second. That's why the buggies have wide, flat runners like a sled so that they can coast along on top of the dust.
I bet if we had a pair of snowshoes, we could walk on it.
Well, as a matter of fact, the Venusians wear special dust walkers that look almost exactly like snowshoes. There aren't any on the buggy. I've already looked.
What are we going to do now? Just sit here and wait?
No, I'm going to climb to the top of the buggy and send up a couple of flares before it gets light. May help them find us.
But won't it help who's ever trying to get rid of us, too?
Well, we'll just have to take that chance. Here, hold this flare gun, and when I get up on top of the buggy, hand it to me.
Be careful.
Don't worry, I will.
Dantrell, look out!
It's all right, Billy. Hand me the flare gun. Just reach it up through the doorway there.
There it is.
Now, I've got it.
Why doesn't he send up a flare?
Give him time. He's coming back down again. What's the matter, Dantrell? Why didn't you send up a flare?
Well, that does it. The flare gun's been tampered with, too.
Well, isn't there anything we can do?
Maybe we can light a fire.
It'd be a good idea if we had something to burn, but everything in the buggy is fireproof and there's nothing else but dust for hundreds of miles. No, I'm afraid we'll just have to sit here until it gets light and hope the rescue party finds us then.
A wait for help in a sea of dust is a very long time. Sometimes it never comes. What will face our friends now? We'll be back in a moment, so level up. When we left Dantrell, Pat, and the kids, Billy and Jane, they were waiting for help in their sabotaged dust buggy. They were hoping a Venusian rescue party would shortly pick them up. As we find them now, they are in their dust buggy staring out at the vast reaches of the shifting mountains of dust.
Jane, what are you looking at?
I was sure I saw something moving out there.
Where?
Out that way. It looked almost like somebody standing. It's gone now.
I'm afraid it was your imagination, Jane. Even in this light, you can see for miles. There's nothing there now.
She's just seeing things.
Well, if she's seeing things, so am I. Look out there.
You're right. I can see it, too. Looks like some kind of an animal or something's coming towards us.
There's some more of them here on the other side. Look.
What is it, Tantro? Do you know?
Well, I'm not sure. It's hard to see the way they're hunched over, but I think... No, it can't be.
Can't be what?
Remember I was telling you about the dusters?
Sure. You said nobody was sure if they really existed or not.
Well, I'm afraid they do exist, and what's more, they're all around the dust buggy.
We're surrounded.
They seem to be coming in closer now.
Do you think they'll attack us?
I don't understand this at all. There's little known about them, but I've never heard of them attacking.
They look so strange. In some ways, they look humanoid, and in others, almost like some kind of reptile.
Gee, you're right. They're still not close enough to see very clearly, but their skin seems to be scaly, almost like an alligator.
Look at their feet. They're wearing dust shoes, all right, but it looks like it's part of their body. I guess that's how they can walk on the dust without sinking in.
They keep coming closer and closer. I wonder what they're going to do. Well, we should know in a couple of seconds. They're almost up to the buggy.
What's that noise?
Well, it must be from those tremendous feet moving through the dust.
Well, anyhow, they can't bite us.
Why not?
Look, they hardly have any mouths at all. Just a tiny little hole.
Yes, but their noses make up for it. They're bigger than the Venusians.
They're touching the ship on this side.
Look, they're working one of their spears in through the crack of the port.
Stand back, Billy. Let me get over there.
There's another one now, on the other side.
Get back away from the port, Billy. Looks like they're going to force it open. They've split it already.
There it goes.
Hello, Venusport, Secret Channel 7 Zeptar. This is Noki. Convoy just arrived Galanta. We'll delay them on Dantro's rescue. Baca and I heading out to Dantro's stalled dust buggy. Keep you advised. Signing out.
Why don't you use your ray gun, Dantro?
I don't dare. I might get a few of them, but not enough to matter. Besides, we still aren't sure they mean to harm us.
Looks like one of them is trying to climb in through the port. Gosh, look at that skin. It's just like an alligator's. Bet they can walk through a dust storm and not even feel it.
I guess that's what it's for.
Coming in all right.
He certainly is an ugly-looking specimen.
Right now, I'm much more concerned with what he wants, not what he looks like.
He's just standing there looking at us.
Why don't you try and talk to him, Dantro?
I don't think it'll do any good, Billy. They haven't any ears.
Do you think they can communicate with each other?
Maybe. Somehow they must, or they couldn't organize an attack as they did this one.
They must be pretty smart.
Maybe, but remember, the ants back on Earth and a lot of other insects, too. And wolves, they hunt in packs and yet have no means of communication.
Wolves. You don't think these dusters are like wolves, do you, Pat?
Oh, of course not, Jane.
Here comes another one through the port.
Hey, and there's one right behind
They're
us.
coming toward us.
Just stay where you are. Don't move.
Hey, one of them has hold of my arm.
Get your hands off of
Don't
me.
fight them, Billy. Jane, it won't do any good. We're badly outnumbered.
Hey, he's got a rope. He's going to tie me up. Hey, what do I do? Just stand here?
I'm afraid we have no choice. If we fight back, we may just arouse them. As it is, we still don't know what their plans are.
Now they're tying me up, too.
I guess you're right about their not being able to hear or speak. They aren't making a
Here
sound.
comes another one through the port. What's he carrying?
Some kind of a cloth. Hey, what's he doing with it? Hey, Jane, are you all right?
Dantro.
Don't be afraid, Jane. They're just going to wrap us in this cloth.
Don't worry, kid. Don't worry.
Hey, they're carrying us out of the buggy. Ow! Jane, that hurt. What were you doing? Where you bang my ear right against the door?
You be careful, you walking alligator.
Keep calm, kid.
That's the stuff. At least we can talk. That way we can keep track of each other.
They're carrying us somewhere, aren't they?
That's right, they are.
Back to their village, do you think?
There's no telling, Billy. All we can do is wait and see.
It seems the dusters are taking Dantro and the Earth people to some prearranged spot. Where is this place? And why are our friends being taken there? We'll be back in a moment, but first, here is a message the Planet Man wants you to hear. in again for more transcribed thrills and adventures. Rocket millions of light years into space with Dan Troll, the Planet Man. The Planet Man.